Hi, I'm Ilan Rubin, and right now we're going to do a deep dive into the session for my song No Place Left to Go. Before we dive in, a little bit about the track. It was recorded at two locations, one being this little studio at home, which is kind of like my writing room. I do my vocals, percussion, various overdubs, and electronics here. And another small studio I have with actual drum kit, real amps, everything's mic'd up, ready to go. So all the basic tracking was done over there. The rest of it was done over here. A lot of fun stuff that I got to use. There's a hybrid of real amps, some vintage fun for you vintage enthusiasts out there, but Silvertone 1472. I used some Quad Cortex Neural DSP fun, some Axe effects, all over the place. Whatever gets the job done is what I say. So, mixed by Ilan Rubin per usual, and here we are. This is a committed session, which means that I'm missing some plugins, but as we can see by all the .cm tracks here in Pro Tools, most of it is just bounced down and baked in. Only missing a couple things, so it should sound pretty close, but let's dive in and see what this song is all about. Okay, so when I hear the song, I think about the riff. I had been kicking this riff around for a long time, which is not something I usually do. When I have an idea that I like, I pursue it, and I finish the song, and I move on with my life. But I guess a part of me just wanted to make sure that whatever I came up with to go after this riff was good enough and do the riff justice, because I love it. And a very key part of this song is the sort of galloping, percussive feel that follows pretty much the entire thing. In fact, the working title for this song was called B Gallop, because it's in B and it gallops. So, aside from the drums, of course, we have this guitar kind of doing some checkers. We've got some percussion doing that as well. And when you hear it over the drums, you can hear how that they all combine to really make this song feel the way it does rhythmically. There you have it. And that riff was my little Silvertone that I love, and a Telecaster. And the bass here is very simple because there's already enough going on with the riff. It's fairly syncopated, but because it's going back and forth from B major to B minor mainly, the bass can really just hold it down. There aren't many chords to change to, so really this is all that's happening. So there you have that. All right, into verse 1.
Golden dust upon the masses, petty scams and all that tracks is how you never fail to take a bow.
BVs, of course, always a fan of those.
How you never fail to take a bow.
That's what's going on there. Hear it with the lead.
Tracks is how you never fail to take a bow. Ooh.
I usually argue with Aaron about vocal delays. Now, I understand that within the mix, you don't really hear them and they fill space. But when I hear them kind of drenched in that delay, solo in a cappella, I'm like, there we are with the vocal delays. But they do their job, I admit it. So we do two verses in a row, and then we go to this section that I call a hook, because it's not a chorus, it's not a pre-chorus, it's just this little thing that I get to before the choruses. Now I know you're thinking that is pre-chorus, but it's kind of more like a musical refrain in my opinion, so here we have it.
Now, look at what you've gone and done. Flew high up until you hit the sun.
Yeah, so it's this kind of hook that's almost more a musical hook than a vocal hook, but then it ping-pongs between that and the verse riff again. So we have some new guitars here. And then a higher part. So the textures are starting to open up there guitar-wise. And then we crescendo into this chorus.
High up until you hit the sun. Hey, I say you threw it away and you'll never get it back. Never forgive, never forget. It's the price you have to pay. Oh, I know it's all for the show, but you're running and got no place left to go.
So that's the chorus. Really opens up. We do have some lead vocals that come in. Let's hear some backup vocals, sorry.
Hey, I say!
Those are some gang vocals right there. Probably, let's look at this. All right, we got 16 of me and a variety of timbres to make it sound more like a group. So, one more time.
Hey, I say!
So we've got the gang vocals at the top, and then we have some harmonies and some backing vocals. Now I distinguish gang vocals from backing vocals because really this is just a group of 16 of me shouting to reinforce what lead singer me is singing. So let's listen to it with the lead vocal in so that it makes a little more musical sense.
Hey, I say, you threw it away and you'll never get it back. Never forgive, never forget. It's the price you have to pay. Oh, I know it's all for the show, but you're running and got no place left to go.
So there are all the chorus vocals. Now, I like to double my chorus vocals generally and leave my verse vocals as a single vocal. That way it feels like things are opening up a little bit, and I can't really resist adding harmonies and all that. So that's what we just heard. And musically, we introduce a tambourine, which I'm not going to bore you with because we all know what those sound like. But then these rhythm guitars. And here is an interesting combination because this chorus guitar track is an actual amp, and this orange guitar track is actually this sort of preamp pedal that they have called the Bax Banjita, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I actually really like it, and it's got an amp cab sim in it. But I like to blend mic'd amps and DI'd, either fuzzes, distortions, whatever it may be, because I feel like you get a depth from the air that's being pushed from the cabinet and this really direct signal from the DI. So here's what they sound like, one, and then I'll add the other. That's the amp, dirty. I just think that has a very saturated, character-driven sound, and together they make this. So there you have that. That is the chorus guitar sound. And then a first for me in this sort of re-intro solo section, I used a whammy for this lead. I don't know why. I just thought, you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to do a little whammy solo. Now, it's not an actual Digitech. I got rid of my actual Digitech a while ago because for whatever reason, it was just always a hair flat, probably something with the string that I didn't want to bother fixing. So I got rid of it. But this whammy is one that I had to make within the Axe-Fx 3. So little expression pedal, did all the block fun. And let's listen to this section, then I'll solo it and tell you what's going on there aside from that.
Place left to go.
All right, whammy solo. So by itself, this is what it sounds like. So the thing that comes in sort of halfway through is a bounce of numerous guitar tracks where I'm picking quickly, just as I am on this Whammy solo. But I'm doing it through a space echo in a variety of octaves, and it just kind of becomes this pad. It's a nice washy texture that I've been doing for a long time now. So this is what that sounds like. And that is kind of just to reinforce that melodic part of the Whammy solo, because everything else is just kind of doing the octaves, and then a bit of melody actually comes in. So here's what I mean by that. Then I have this one little track, which I think, oh no, there's some other stuff here, but for this one little bit, this is all this does. And that's just to emphasize this little break. All right, so verse 2.
Every dance and no reflection is spreading like a bad infection. Oh, you've come just to fall.
Okay, so verse 2, or actually technically verse 3, because the song started with 2 verses back to back. So verse 3 is half the length, and the melody changes. That melody change is reinforced by a lot of background vocals here. So yeah, what do we have here? 4 of them, 4 each. So another 16. I like to quadruple track each one of the parts. So if it's a 4-part harmony or some kind of stack, that's what I like to do. So let's listen to these here.
Oh, how you've climbed just to fall. Never saw it coming.
All right, so that's what's going on there. And as you can tell, perhaps, this vocal variation in the second half is actually mirroring what the guitars did in that Whammy solo just behind it. So we have the this.
Infection. Oh, you've climbed just to fall.
Which is the same melody as this. All right, so that's verse 2, and then same thing with the hook over here. It is just half as long as it was the time before. Another vocal variation to kind of feel like we're pushing into the chorus there. Delays. Okay, that's a long one. That's a long one. Okay, but it adds to the feeling of opening up from the bridge, because the bridge needs to take a step up from where the chorus was before it. So chorus 2 and chorus 1, pretty much the same. And then we open up to this bridge, but this bridge isn't just it's not quite a repetition of the chorus, but it's not really a brand new piece of music, except rather than opening up on B major, I open up on B minor, and that's what gives it a slightly different feel. And it kind of goes back and forth between an added lead guitar that isn't very present, it's not like a guitar solo, and then some interchanging vocals, and a kind of call and response, and I'll elaborate once we listen. So, yeah. so many feedbacks there. I just, I'm going to have to have a word about that. Okay, so here's a little lead. So those are the various elements of the bridge. And as you could hear, there's some lead, then a backing vocal, then a different lead, and then we get back into sort of the tail end of the chorus. But that tail end of the chorus has these BVs that bring us into this breakdown section. Running and got no place left to. Almost kind of vocoder-like. Okay, so this breakdown section, I call it a breakdown because it really is just a sort of jam. I knew the amount of space that I wanted to take up. I knew it was going to kind of be a moment that was just going to revolve around the riff and various ways of building tension to get back into the final chorus. So let's listen to it, and then we'll take it from there. All right, so a fun little jam. Obviously, drums are building, getting fancier, the riff is going, the bass is playing off of both, but really what's giving this section a lot of vibe, aside from the playing, is a combination of these guitar tracks that are very atmospheric and textural, and really it's just me having fun with various delay pedals. So I'll play the section with all of these bits, and then I'll show you what they each are. So those are all guitars. To begin with, we have these three textures here, which is filling out space. They're in time. There's sort of a low, mid, and high. So the first one. Then that builds. And we have this one. That sort of thing. And then we have a delay feedback 1 is called. And those crescendo, obviously, as we had heard, but here are the three of them all together. And then we have these loops that I put together. Let's see this first one, actually. Okay, so this is the one that's providing the melodic content. That's the one that really brings it home to that chorus. Then we have these loops that I put together that call and response from each other. Feedback, noisy, fun. So these last three. Fun stuff. And I think those are all just different delay models on the Strymon timeline, which is one of my favorites. Drums. These get fun. So all of that combines to crescendo into this final chorus, which, if I'm not mistaken, is pretty much the same as the two before it. So let's go to the end into the outro. Okay, so if you guys are looking at the tempo, not the tempo map, the meter map up here, you can see that time signatures start changing. And it is slightly bizarre, I have to admit. I don't know why. I'm not usually an odd time signature kind of guy, but I felt like, you know what, now's the time. So let's listen to the riff. So in this section, I see that as one full pass. It's a bar of 4/4, bar of 7/8, another bar of 4/4, and then a bar of 3/4 or 6/8, depending on how you want to count it. So I'll show you what I mean here. So I continue this weird time signature business, and then a guitar solo comes in. So let's listen to that. It was a real pain in the ass to write something to play over this, but I'm happy with the result. Fun solo. The lead was actually Les Paul into the quad cortex in a JTM 45 model, if I'm not mistaken. So aside from the lead, we just have some outro textures here. Some ambient stuff that just kind of builds up and goes around everything. And a loop that is reminiscent of what was going on in the breakdown section. That is, of course, following the time signature. And let's see what just the guitars sound like. So that's fun. I can see that being a section that gets extended live. And yeah, let's just see how this ends. Fun little syncopated riff here. All right, well, there you have it. That is No Place Left to Go. Hopefully you found that somewhat interesting. Go stream it everywhere. Enjoy it. Have a good one.